It's afternoon snack time, isn't it? It's someone's afternoon snack time, so I have some bargain beignets for you. These are from Grandma's house. Grandma was so gracious. Oh, look, there's a Shelby. Grandma was so gracious to give me some of these for you. Hello! Shelby only eats Temptation cat treats, so someone's a little picky about her diet. Turn around. Turn around.
You're crazy.
Here we go. Now that we got the children settled with their snacks, I have a spring TBR. It is a little bit late. It is. It hit last week and I decided, oh my God, I need to do a complete overhaul of what I had planned because one, I did horrible at the winter one. We're not going to discuss it. Okay. I did horrible at it. And I really need to play to like my reading mood at the current point, especially because I'm not doing any like real competitive readathons in April. So I was like, we need to play on my reading mood at the time. And so I did a complete overhaul what I had planned. I had a lot of fantasy on it because I do read a lot of fantasy. I'm in such a more of a romance mood right now. So we kind of need to play to that strength for me to accomplish a TBR at this point. But I still do have some fantasy books on it. And so I have an updated list of 20 books that I would like to get to in this spring season. We will start with my fantasy books just because they're actually at the top of the list. Those are the ones I didn't move at all. But the first one I have here is The Lost Book of White. This is part of the Shadowhunter universe. This is the second book in the Eldest Curses series. I think it's only like a duology. So I do want to get this done. This is more of a Magnus Bane following, and Alex was in the last one, but the other characters do make some appearances. So I'm quite looking forward to this one because this will be able to wrap up another video. One, because I've been rereading the ones I have read in this series, but I'm going through the entire universe and we're starting to get into the books I have not read. Like I haven't read this one and like literally everything else in the universe I haven't read. The only things I had read prior were the Infernal Devices and the Mortal Instruments. So this is really fun to be able to find some new things. And when I was flipping through it like that, I happened to see Jace's name, and Jace is like my favorite character. So I'm quite happy he will make an appearance in this book. But let's do a synopsis of this one. Life is good for Magnus Bane and Alec Lightwood. That is, until the night the two old acquaintances break into Magnus's apartment and steal the powerful Book of the White. Now Magnus and Alex will have to drop everything to follow the thieves to Shanghai to get it back. Also, someone has stabbed Magnus with a strange magical weapon that is changing the very nature of his powers. Fortunately, they have backup in the form of Clary, Jace, Isabel, and Simon. In Shanghai, they learn that a much darker threat awaits them. Magnus's magic is growing unstable, and if they can't stop the demons flooding into the city, they might have to follow them all the way back to the source, to the very realm of the dead. I think this one's gonna go pretty quick because it really is not like a long book. Like the Mortal Instruments ones, you know, we're getting quite chunky. Let's see if I can find where a page number is in here. 368, and that's the acknowledgements, which we're not gonna read because I never read acknowledgements, sorry. 365 is where the epilogue ends. So it's not like super chunky, so I feel like this is gonna be pretty fast paced and we're gonna get like into a lot of it pretty fast. You waiting for your next one. Can I have like something in return? Can you roll over or something for me? Oh, okay, that was beautiful. Thank you. Next, I have a series, and this was on my winter TBR, and I just never got to it. I'm trying to do a mix of both chunky and shorter books. I feel like that's going to help me also play into this a little bit better and accomplishing stuff. So I have the Court of Thorn and Roses series. I have all the books here, so I would like to get into this one. I've heard a lot of good things, and I know this is Banro, so I'm hoping it kind of helps play into the romance mood I'm in for spring. I don't know why in spring I get into such, like I need to read romance. Winter, it's always fantasy. The spring, it's always romance. I don't know why I get into that mood, but I do. So I thought maybe some fan mail would help. And I've heard a lot of good things about this series. And I really would like to explore some of SJM's books because the only one I've read before is House of Earth and Blood. And I've been told you should definitely read ACOTAR first before you delve into that first series further. And I was like, okay, fine. Like, I have that. I've literally owned them since these covers were released. So I was like, maybe I should go back and read those ones. So I have all the books here. And then they had to do the weird cover change mid-series. Like, why? Why would you do a cover change mid-series? But I have all of them. So I was like, maybe I should read them at some point. And I'll go into this one as well. When 1900s Feyre kills a wolf in the woods, a beast-like creature arrives to demand retribution. Dragged to a treacherous magical land she knows about only from legends, Feyre discovers that her captor is not an animal, but a Tamlin, one of the lethal immortal fairies who once ruled their world. As Feyre dwells in his estate, her feelings for Tamlin transforms from icy hostility into a fiery passion that burns through every lie and warning she's been told about the beautiful, dangerous world of the Fae. But an ancient, wicked shadow over the fairylands is growing, and Feyre must find a way to stop it or doom Tamlin and his world forever. So it is playing into that romance, and I've been told this is a Beauty and the Beast like retelling, and I'm really into retellings, particularly if they are Beauty and the Beast. So I'm hoping that like I actually just feel like the mood to pick one of these up and like accomplish that off my list finally. Let's just get the chunky. I'm pretty sure this is the chunkiest one. Court of Silver Flames might be close comparison, but this is a reread, and I read it for the first time last year, but I did it like half audio, half physical, because the audiobook I got would not let me speed it up more than 1 time speed, and so I was like really dragging because it's like 30 some hours on audio. And I was like, I don't know if I like this, but by the end of it, I was in love with it. So when I started reading with my eyes, I was like, I need to go back and reread all of it with my eyes to get like a full opinion on the book. And that is 11/22/63 by Stephen King. It's quite the chonker. It's like 800 some pages, I think. Yeah, 800 some pages. And this is part of my Stephen King read-along group. We're starting to do alternate reads, where every month in that group, we pick up a new Stephen King book and read it for the month. And for April, we are reading one. I'm listening to that one on audio. I already have it from the library. But our alternate read is where we go back and revisit some of the previous books we had read for anyone new who is joining the group, so that they can also experience some of the new ones. And so everything gets put on a poll for us to pick from. And this happened to be the poll pick for our alternate pick for April, which is every other month we do an alternate pick. And I'm going to reread this sucker because it's historical sci-fi, which is an interesting element to me. And like I said, I was really mixed reviews about it in the beginning because my audiobook wouldn't let me speed it up past 1 time speed without crashing. And I can't listen to a book at 1 time speed, guys. I listen to books at 3 times speed. Putting it at 1 time speed was absolute torture. So I'm going to read it with my eyes because I can't do the book with the ebook, but the audiobook crashing on me again. I can't do it. And I was enjoying it much more with my eyes anyway. So I'm hoping I'll see if I like this one any better. And I do know there's some like romance elements into it. I'll admit, Stephen King is not the best at writing romance elements. Sometimes they come across very weird. But for anyone who does not know what this book is about, let's read this one. Dallas, 11/22/63. 3 shots ring out. President John F. Kennedy is dead. Life can turn on a dime or stumble into the extraordinary as it does for Jake Epping, a high school English teacher in a Maine town. While grading essays by his GED students, Jake reads a gruesome, enthralling piece penned by janitor Henry Dunning. 50 years ago, Harry somehow survived his father's sledgehammer slaughter of his entire family. Jake is blown away. But an even more bizarre secret comes to light when Jake's friend Al, owner of the local diner, enlists Jake to take over the mission that has become his obsession, to prevent the Kennedy assassination. How? By stepping through a portal in the diner storeroom and into the era of Ike and Elvis, of big American cars, sock hops, and cigarette smoke. Finding himself in heartwarm Jody, Texas, Jake begins a new life. But all turns in the road led to a troubled loner named Lee Harvey Oswald. The course of history is about to be rewritten and become heart-stoppingly suspenseful. Like I said, I loved the ending of it. So like the last probably 25%, I was in love with it, but I was really mixed on the first 75%. So I really want to go back and revisit it. That, and I don't think I remember the first 75% because like 30 some hours on audiobook, listening at 1 time speed, my ADHD brain checked out long ago because like I have the type of ADHD where I process things really, really fast. And so when it's going really slow and I'm listening to things very slow, I'm like, That's why I can't always work with optometrists, because the optometrist is so slow compared to ophthalmology. So like I really like working in the high specialty fields where I have 30 some patients a day, because my brain is just like doot, 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 doot. And when I'm with an optometrist, I only see like 14 patients a day, and then I'm like off my own little land half the time. So I really need to pick this back up and go at the speed my brain wants to go and see how much I actually like this one. Because otherwise that's like a top 3 King book. Based off that 25% at the end, I would say it's one of my top 3 King books, but like I said, I need to go back and revisit it. All right, next one. 2 of these books are been on the past 2 TBRs. I just haven't gotten to it. I am making a video about them, and I kind of needed to rework them a little bit. So I was gonna do 4 books, but I'm thinking I need to break it down to 3, because I'm not sure how fond you guys would be of like a 3-hour video. So I'm trying to cut it down to maybe like an hour and a half video, because I don't think I can do it any less than that. This is the Haunting Danielle series by Bobby Holmes. There are 30 some books in the series at this point. I have 6 on my spring TBR to get to, and hopefully this will encompass maybe 2 or 3 videos. Depending on where we get, I might not get the 3rd one out for spring, but I want to get 2 of them out in the spring for you guys. And basically the premise of this series is Danielle Boatman has inherited a house in Frederick Park, Oregon. That's a mouthful sometimes. And there are ghosts in the house. And she also is a medium, and she can see other ghosts. And apparently there's like a lot of murders happening in Frederickport. So like she ends up seeing all the ghosts, and she has to help solve the murders. And I'm annotating these books. We're going through them step by step, because I've actually read up to like book 27 or 28. And at that point, my brain was like, oh my God, what is this timeline anymore? And so I am mapping out the entire timeline, how every single character is connected, because no joke, I have already annotated the first book and have that part of the video edited, and there is no joke over 20 characters in book 1, and all the books are this big. They're like 250 pages, 20 characters. So we are going to go through and we're going to map this out and see how every little thing is connected, because I do know that sometimes things were brought up in like book 1 and that aren't brought up again until book 4. So you really need to know the whole story. So I'm mapping it out so that you guys don't have to read it, but you could if you want to, because I really enjoy these series and I love these cozy mystery series. But like that's the plan. And like I said, I have the next 6 on my TBR. I was gonna do 4, like I said, but I'm breaking it down into 3 books a video. So I just have to read this one, and I'll have the first video up for you guys. And this one isn't super long, like I said. So we have The Ghost Who Wasn't. And then the second video will be The Ghost Who Wanted Revenge. This is probably my least favorite cover of the entire series, because it's the only one where they wrote on the spine in red. Literally everything else is white on the spine. I don't know why they did that for book 4, and there's literally no other print edition of it. And then we have The Ghost of Halloween Past. And then The Ghost of Valentine Past. And then The Ghost from the Sea. And then The Ghost and the Mystery Writer. So we got quite the chunk that we're gonna be going through here, okay? But like I said, they're short and like nice mix. Going from, you know, this to this, we got a nice mix of stuff going on in here. Next, I have 2 book of the month I would like to get off of my TBR. Actually, I will say, if you guys didn't see my last video, I rearranged all my shelves, and actually doing that made this so much easier doing this video, because I actually knew where all the books were, because like they're all organized by genre now. Do you know how nice that is? It's amazing. But first I have Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. This was the book of the year in 2022. I have not read this one, and I would really like to read this one. This is actually a part of a video that our dear Ellie is the star in, because in this book of the month vlog, Ellie has picked all of my reads. I have 2 books to go, so I have this one and I have another one that we'll talk about next. And I'm quite looking forward to this one, because it was book of the year and I've heard a lot of good things about it. The one thing I will say I don't like about it is that the print is like really small in this book. I'm like, oh, the print in my other books is bigger. And I'm not sure if I like how the chapters are labeled, but I think I know what they're trying to do, so like I'll accept it. But let's read the synopsis for this one. On a bitter cold day in this December of his junior year at Harvard, Sam Moser exits a subway car and sees amid the hordes of people waiting on the platform Sadie Green. He calls her name. For a moment, she pretends she hasn't heard him, but then she turns and a game begins, a legendary collaboration that will launch them to stardom. These friends, intimate since childhood, borrow money, beg favors, and before even graduating college, they have created their first blockbuster, Ichigo. Overnight, the world is theirs. Not even 25 years old, Sam and Sadie are brilliant, successful, and rich, but these qualities won't protect them from their own creative ambitions or the betrayals of their hearts. Spanning 30 years from Cambridge, Massachusetts to Venice Beach, California, and lands in between and far beyond, Gabrielle Zevon's Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow is a dazzling and intricate imagined novel that examines the multifarious nature of identity, disability, failure, the redemptive possibilities in play, and above all, our need to connect, to be loved, and to love. Yet, it is a love story, but it is not one you have read before. So I'm really excited about this one. Like I said, I've heard a lot of good things, and like, it's been on and off my TBR for like, since I got it, and I'm like, I don't know what it is. Like, I'm nervous to read this one. I don't know. It just feels like I don't want to be disappointed, okay? Like, I don't know. The other one Ellie has picked out for us is How to End a Love Story by Yulin Kwong. I bought this one because I like the cover. I was like, I don't have a ton of pink covers, and admittedly it was a debut author, and I was like, I need to pick some debut authors. We need to like read some debuts, because I don't know, I feel like that is a necessary thing in life. Helen Zhang hasn't seen Grant Shepard once in the 13 years since the tragic accident that bound their lives together forever. Now a best-selling author, Helen pours everything into her career. She even scored a coveted spot in the writer's room of the TV adaptation of her young adult novels. And if she can hide her imposter syndrome, surely the rest of her life will fall into place too. LA is the fresh start she needs. After all, no one knows her there, except Grant has done everything in his power to move on from the past, including building a life across the country. And while the panic attacks have never quite gone away, he's still well liked around town as a screenwriter. He knows he shouldn't have taken the job on Helen's show, but it will open the doors to developing his own projects that he just can't pass up. Grant's exactly as Helen remembers him, charming, popular, and lovable in ways that she's never been. And Helen's exactly as Grant remembers too. Brilliant, beautiful, closed off. But working together is messy and electrifying, and Helen's parents, who have never forgiven Grant, have no idea he's in the picture at all. When secrets come to light, they must reckon with the fact that theirs was never meant to be any kind of love story. And yet, the key to making peace with their past and themselves might just lie in holding on to each other in the present. So I feel like that will help play into the romance mood I'm in a little bit. Simply because, here you go, man. Because like I said, I'm in a romance mood. But like the last books I feel like are really going to help the romance mood I'm in. Because I'm like kind of in a dark romance mood, guys. And I actually just bought these books this month here in March. And I actually been eyeing them since February, and I was like, no, don't do it. Like, you don't need to buy books. But then I was like, I couldn't stop thinking about the series and how I wanted to read it. And I honestly just loved these editions because look at these. Like, I don't know, it's just so satisfying to look at the books like this. And I was like, ooh. I mean, there's nothing like like, there's nothing like really special about them except for, they're colored. But like, I really like them. And what these are the Kingmaker books by Sophie Lark. I think these have actual titles to them, but for some reason, these are the deluxe editions apparently. Like, I don't pay attention to that when I buy stuff. I just like the cover. They just label them like year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, and graduation. So they might actually have titles, but I don't know for sure because my books do not have actual titles on them. But it's fine. I've never read anything by Sophie Lark, but I've heard a lot of good things. And honestly, the cashier when I bought these was like, Sophie Lark. I'm like, well, I didn't ask your opinion, man who's in his 70s, so don't comment. Also, there's playlists, and I'm kind of excited because like I don't usually listen to playlists but like I might pull up the playlist. But these are like mafia romances. They're like a mafia college. I'm like, okay, I can get behind that. Like, it kind of fits my mood right now. Bound by Love, Torn by Love. In the shadowed halls of kingmakers, a ruthless mafia university, the offspring of the world's most feared families come to master the dark arts of influence and intimidation. Leo, unwaveringly loyal to his childhood friend Anna, follows her into a world where love is a weapon, trust is a casualty, and survival is the only victory that matters. But the greatest danger comes from Dean Jensen, a Bravada hare with a vendetta as cold as his heart. Dean plans to destroy Leo and take everything he holds dear, starting with Anna. Can Leo win back his soulmate, or is Anna lost forever? I feel like this is just up my alley. I'm like, I kind of need something like this, and like, it kind of lends to the fact that it's like a darker romance, and that's kind of what I need right now. Like, I just finished Lights Out, and I thought that would help my mood, and it did. It did. I really enjoyed it. Like 4.5 stars. But like, I'm still in the mood to read like a darker romance. So I'm hoping these will suffice. These actually might get pushed to the top of the list because that's just the mood I'm in, and like, I should play on the mood I'm in. Otherwise, I'll get slumpy. But you know, we'll see what I get to. I don't know what I'll get to next. I really don't. It's all up in the air at this point. But yeah, those are the 20 books I want to get to here in spring. And like, the spring TBR is running from the 21st was the first day of spring. So I haven't actually read anything off of it, but like, we're getting to it now, guys. And it runs until the summer solstice, which is in June. It's like June 21st, I think. So that's kind of the month we're working with for this TBR. And hopefully, because I'm playing up to the strengths of me wanting to read romance, I actually accomplish at least 50% of the TBR. Because, man, I kind of failed at the fall TBR. I read like 8 of the 20 books, which wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. It was almost at 50%, which is my goal overall. Yeah, the winter one, I read literally 2 books. So yeah, here's to hoping that this goes better. But my creators are staring at me. Well, that one's not staring at me so much. That one's drinking water. But Ellie is staring at me, so I should probably feed her dinner before she starves to death, because clearly I'm starving her by not feeding her dinner promptly at 6 p.m. So that's all I have for this week, and I will see you guys next time.